Good morning to all of you. First of all, my apologies for not being able to make it for the conference in person, but due to an internal urgency, I had to reschedule my plans. Nevertheless, I'm here to give you a very short introduction, first of all, on who Sea Europe is, but also on the importance of defense, the commercial sector, and the cross-fertilization between defense and the civilian part of our industry. First, a word on Sea Europe. Sea Europe is the organization that represents the interests of shipyards and equipment manufacturers in the EU, in Norway, in Turkey, and in Ukraine, and also the UK since beginning of this year. Our members are operating in commercial business, but also in the naval business. And that's specifically what I would like to focus on. The defense part is very important, and it's actually getting more and more important in the unfortunate situation that we have today, that geopolitical tensions are only but increasing. And I understand from the European Commission that under the next European Commission we are very likely to have a dedicated commissioner for defense, so it only underlines the importance of defense. But who says defense should not forget about the commercial part of the industry. And why am I saying this? The defense as well as the commercial part of the industry, of the shipbuilding and the equipment manufacturing industry, they are important for various reasons, not least for the strategic autonomy of Europe. Strategic autonomy is a concept we hear more and more nowadays. From the commercial perspective, strategic autonomy means that you have access as EU to trade. Let's not forget that 90% of trade is carried by sea. More than 70% to 80% of the EU's external trade is carried by sea. So access to trade is very fundamental. And that also implies that you have access to food supply, to energy supply, and that also means that you want to have an independence in order to be able to rely on your own food and energy supply. Blue economy is also getting more and more importance. Protection of seabed, not just for military reasons, but also for commercial reasons, raw materials and so on. So when we look at shipyards and equipment manufacturers in Europe, both on the defense and on the commercial side, we see that in the past decades, unfortunately, we have lost a lot of markets due to unfair competition. And I think we have come to a point that we are now basically with the back against the wall. We need, as Europe, to determine what we want to get out of shipyards and equipment industry. Shipyards and the entire supply are important for many, many reasons. We are important for the strategic autonomy, we are important for defense, we are important for access to trade and all that. But we are also important as key enablers of the European Commission and the EU's ambitions, whether it's on defense, whether it's on the Green Deal, whether it is on digitalization. The problem is that at the moment, we don't have a very dedicated strategy. We don't have sector-specific legislation or policy measures. And that is why in Sea Europe, we are actually calling upon the next European Commission to come forward with what we call a maritime industrial strategy. A maritime industrial strategy that basically will help us on the commercial and on the defense side to tackle the challenges that we have, to address the needs that we have, and a strategy that is basically based on three pillars. Pillar one, we need to have a fair global competition that applies to defense and that applies certainly also to the commercial side. That needs to be tackled because that is where and why we have lost over the past years so many markets. But due to that, we have also lost a lot of industrial capabilities and capacity in Europe. If we want to be able to build ships, whether they are naval, military, or whether they are commercial, we need to maintain the industrial capacity that we have today, but we also need to go a step further. We need to reinforce and actually increase the maritime industrial capabilities that we have in Europe. That applies certainly to the shipyards, but it is also important to the entire supply chain of maritime equipment manufacturers and technology providers, and ultimately it's also important for the ship owners, but also for the navies. And then last, we need to be much more vigilant when it comes to preserving and protecting our technological sovereignty. Very often we have been ahead of our competitors in terms of innovation. That is for various reasons, but not least because we invest on an annual basis about 9% of our turnover in research, development and innovative solutions. That is important again for the military side, that is important for the commercial side. But if we are not able to protect and preserve that technological sovereignty, at the end we are throwing it away, and we should stop doing that. And then, and this is the conclusion of my intervention, we should be much more vigilant on the cross-fertilization between defense and commercial. There is unfortunately a belief in some headquarters that we can do with the defense industry alone, so without a commercial industry. And that is actually not true. If you look at the United States, they don't have a real commercial shipbuilding industry. They have a powerful military industry, but they are not so innovative in the way that we are in Europe. And the reason is very simple. The complex shipbuilding that we build, or the complex ships that we build on the commercial side in Europe, benefit the Navy ships, and vice versa. What we introduce in terms of solutions, technologies, designs on the defense side also benefits the commercial side. And as a matter of fact, our Chinese competitors have very well understood that. They build their commercial ships in a way that they can also serve a defense purpose. And we believe that one of the reasons why they also want to have or to penetrate in the cruise market and build cruise vessels is not so much in the first place because of the market, but much more because of the innovations that they can learn from cruise building for their own military industry. So I think in Europe, we stand for a very important moment with the new elections of the European Parliament and with the new European Commission. What is fundamental is that we preserve in Europe the shipyards and their supply chain that we have, preserve and strengthen it, both for our defense industry and also for our commercial industry.